All right. Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to be here with a Root to Rise alumni, Bridget. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Would
Thank
you
you.
introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yes, of course. So my name is Bridget Archbold, and I launched my business a couple of years ago. Prior to that, I had a 15-year career in corporate marketing and got to a point where I felt very out of alignment, like through lots of signals, mostly chronic, like health and body things, body pain and things like that. And so kind of reevaluated my priorities. And so I created and launched my business, and things have never been better. And we came together. About a little over a year ago, I want to say maybe a year plus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was connected to you through Sage and was very excited at the prospect of the program. I'd been looking for a little while to start to expand my own skills and abilities. And when I came across the summary of the program where it was, Celtic Reiki and then Akashic Records, I was like, yes, these are places I want to expand. I had been called to return to Scotland, which I just got back from that pilgrimage a couple of weeks ago, and felt like this program was like a perfect way to start to strengthen my connection in a new way to the land there. And so just so many beautiful, amazing things lined up. And I was very excited to hop into it all. It helped to support my own practice, which I focus on helping high achievers create boundaries and balance in their lives. A lot of people that I work with are experiencing burnout and that sort of thing. And so finding new tools to not only be able to help them to ground and reclaim their energy and manage their energetics consciously, but then also to support them with, things that they might be carrying that might not even be theirs, in terms of
Yeah.
generational, karmic patterns and agreements with, their lineage and that sort of thing. And that the program that you provided was a perfect opportunity for me to start to branch into some of these more expanded spaces. And it has. It's been great having, the things that I've learned, be able to apply those into my own practice, and my clients have really benefited from it as well. So that's a little bit of my background.
No, I love that. And when you say practice, you're referring to your business, right? Not your own self-practice.
Both, but yes.
Both. Okay.
So yes, I've definitely tapped into it for myself, especially the Celtic Reiki side of things and connecting with trees, which I'm sure we'll get into, and strengthening those relationships. But then also with my clients, I was able to pretty quickly integrate the lessons that we were covering in the course into ways to help my clients. And it was interesting because as the work we did came online, all of a sudden with my clients, opportunities to like bring those practices in opened up and came online. And I don't think that's a coincidence. I think it all really flowed together really well and seamlessly. So yeah, I'm excited to dig into it with you here in the conversation.
Love that. Thank you for sharing. So, where would you say you were in your personal spiritual journey before you dove in? I know you had your
Yeah,
practice
so
already.
yep. So I had been practicing Reiki. I'd practiced 10 years. I started when I was 19. I got my mastery level apprenticeship and attunement when I was like in my late 20s, early 30s, and continued that practice. I'm now in my mid 40s, mostly personally. I did launch a business, connected with Reiki in my early 30s, and my witch wound got activated, and I kind of freaked out and got scared and went back into corporate and needed a little bit more time to come back to all of that and feel safe to share my gifts and abilities with others. And then simultaneously in my 30s, I also worked with a number of different energy teachers and learned a lot of other modalities and things, mostly for my own like personal healing and just development and that sort of thing. And it wasn't until, my mid 40s when I reached a level of success in my corporate career that I was just like, I've been doing this dual path of kind of like my masked world of corporate success and my authentic world of energy work and kind of developing intuition and all of those things. And I felt it was time to bring it all back together and create a business that allowed me to authentically show up and use both skill sets to help people, because I think for so many people we're like trained to walk away from our intuition or to not trust our intuition or to trust external validation to know where we, are in the world in terms of our safety and these things. And I think people are more than ever ready to kind of come back to themselves and
Yeah.
are it's just been so evident in the people that I've been able to work with and support how fast abilities are coming online, how fast people are able to manifest things in because I think as a collective people are more open and receptive and ready to step into all of this. And so so that had been my personal practice for a number of years. And, last summer by then I was kind of like, I think I'm ready to start expanding my gifts again. It had been a while since I had worked with a teacher, like kind of apprentice or student capacity, like this. I would say maybe a handful of years. And so, and that is a long time for me. I'm almost always constantly looking to learn and expand and grow. But I had, my corporate job had really taken over a lot of my focus, and any downtime, I was just exhausted and burned out. And so there wasn't any extra energy to like fill my own cup. And so
I
anyway, yeah, so when this came along, I felt very ready. And I mean, I literally read an email and clicked invest. Like it was a no, I was so excited and ready for it. So yeah. Hmm.
I love that. You hit on so many good points. I mean, the witch wound comes up a lot for my students and
Hmm.
my clients. I'm sure it does for you. And then like that whole the dichotomy, the splitting, like we've got to have this 9 to 5, right? The programmed, like, but it does also feed into our sense of safety and security. But then we can realize and unlearn that and we can provide our own sense of safety and
Hmm.
security, which is what you
Hmm.
have done in your business and many of my students are doing and expanding and looking for that next, maybe they've had a plateau, maybe they are burnt out because they're trying to figure out how they can serve more clients, but also
Hmm.
fill their cup. And I feel like as healers, we're the last people we take care of, not intentionally, but it's kind of like, oh, I'll have time for me. I'll have time for me. One more client, one more, we get into
Hmm.
it. We are so into helping people. So I love that you brought all those things up. So
Hmm.
what surprised you the most from the program?
Oh, it far surpassed my expectations. Like what I expected coming into it versus what I received, on the other side of it. The curriculum was so thorough. And I mean, I know I mentioned this to you, but for people that haven't been, part of the journey, it's a master's level program. And what I mean by that is like when I was doing my master's degree, the types of classes that I was taking at that level and the level of, you make it what you will, on your own, but I was taking it very seriously. And so like it felt very akin to that level of information and depth of explanation. And the platform was so like, very like clean and easy to follow. And it was just so streamlined and beautiful. Like I just didn't expect that. And especially, at the investment level at the time when we were first starting to work together, I was just like, wow, this value is like off the charts, fantastic. And so I was very pleased with that. And then, also the way that we all worked together, in the original program, and there was great structure and there was, great foundational knowledge being shared. And I feel like the amount of information that was being shared was well paced. I was able to keep up with it. And, but it was something that I kept top of mind pretty much every day. I didn't feel overwhelmed, but I did have to make time for it in my schedule to be able to give it the attention that I wanted to get what I wanted out of it. But then when we came together in session, what was also, surprising and awesome is it was kind of co-creative. We would come with
Mhm.
our unique questions or observations or, whatever, and we were able to also kind of learn in a group in a way that I also didn't expect. So yeah, so those are probably the top two, but overall it was just, fantastic value for what was received. It was awesome.
Thank you. I'm very excited
Mhm.
to hear that.
Yep.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun in the activations. We meet live weekly, and that there was a lot of magic there. And that's my intent, right? I want to provide the framework, but I'm not looking for cookie cutter practitioners. It's not like a
Hmm.
hard dogma, strict, you must do it this way. Like we
Hmm.
all are so unique and we bring our own medicine into the world and our people need
Hmm.
us. So I'm glad
Hmm.
you felt
Hmm.
that freedom. That makes me so
Hmm.
happy.
Hmm.
So what would you say was your favorite part of the whole experience?
So I kind of came into it with a pretty, quote, traditional experience and perspective of Reiki. I came through the Usui lineage of Reiki, and so that was the world that I knew. And coming into it with this new, fresh perspective of working with energy in a specific like relation to trees, which is something, I mean, I have moved my family across the country to be closer to trees. So I don't know how unique that is, but trees for me have always been, something that I've been very connected to. Um, and I have also since flown across the entire country to connect with new trees and across the ocean to connect with other trees. And so hopefully that doesn't make me sound weird, but like I I didn't really I hadn't heard anything about Celtic Reiki prior to working with you. And then again, I feel like divine timing and alignment, to be coming into a practice that is all about getting to know the different tree essences and how every type of tree has a different like personality and a different set of gifts that you can, call in to help you. Because so much of my work prior to doing the course with you was archangel work. I did a lot of angel, calling in angels. I called in, guides and things, and different entities would come in to help me when I did my energy work with my clients. That was sort of independent of my Reiki training, but just my intuition, allowed these other beings to come in and help depending on what the client needed. But to be able to have this additional, whole container of, tree wisdom, which is just so lovely and beautiful, and to be able to connect with trees on that kind of more conscious, deeper level and learn the nuance of them was just a level of magic I just did not expect. And I was really delighted that it all worked for me. Like when we started to do the journeying and started to like actually connect with them, the information that came through for me and those intuitive, connections that came in, and then we were able to debrief as a group, and everything was aligned with, quote, what would be expected. And that was super validating because I didn't have an agenda. I didn't know any different. And, that was again a whole nother level of magic that I was just like, oh, this is the coolest. So yeah, that was really, really awesome.
I love that. So, was there a particular tree ally that stood out the most, either throughout the program or one that's been showing up for you recently?
Yeah, so yes, initially for me it was willow, birch, and like white pine, or I feel like there's a different term though in Celtic Reiki for yeah,
Silver
and
fir.
thank you, silver fir. And so those three kind of came forward initially. I would say over the course of the year since we have worked together, Hawthorne has been coming through a lot for me. And for clients, a lot of clients are calling in oak specifically. And so that's been really interesting because I don't always lead with, Celtic Reiki or like the tree essences. When I'm first working with clients and they're establishing grounding cords, they'll have something that they want to work on, and we'll set intentions for the session. And then knowing what those intentions are, what material would be most helpful from a grounding cord perspective, and we let, their intuition guide them. I also receive information. So if it's quiet for them, I can share what's coming through. And so many of them, it's like right out the gate, oak, like I really love oak trees. And that's been really cool to see that theme because one of the benefits of doing the work that we do is we get to work with lots of different clients from a lot of different backgrounds. And to see themes like that come through independent of all those different backgrounds is, again, so magical. It's just really
Yes.
cool. Yeah. So those are the ones that have been coming through for me recently. It was interesting too, because I was just in Scotland for 2 weeks, doing spiritual pilgrimage. And of course, there was heather everywhere. And so connecting with the heather there, it was like right on the brink of blossoming. I think August is like peak
Yeah.
season for heather to bloom. And so everything was like little buds and like, anticipation energy. And it was, I mean, fields and acres around me. It was truly so fantastic. Yeah.
You can just absorb all that juicy energy. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. Awesome. So, when did you start to weave some of the things you learned into some of your client sessions?
Yeah, well, one of the things that I really liked about the curriculum is we were encouraged, especially when we got into the Akashic Records, navigation and work and methods, to start to have some sessions with people, and so that was really great in building my confidence and also establishing a level of clarity that I hadn't really realized within myself, that I had actually been accessing records in a way that wasn't formally defined that way. Like I had been doing it, but just in an intuitive way that had worked for me in the past based off kind of cobbling together lessons and things that I'd learned from other teachers. And so having the language and, the additional pathways, and particularly the structures that you provided in terms of like setting up clear boundaries and, opening and closing and kind of going through those methods just to make sure from a energy perspective and, agreements perspective and a karmic perspective that we were keeping everything, the container really clean and tidy was very helpful. I had a teacher once explain, people who are intuitive, it's sort of like riding a horse. Like you can get on a horse and ride it bareback through a field and maybe not fall off. It's not the same thing as being able to get on a horse and like, work with the horse and like have the horse go where you want it to go and like all those things, which was sort of, I felt the difference between kind of what I had been doing, but versus, coming out on the other side of working with you with this, with the tools and structures that you had provided to give us, the ability to do all of that with confidence. And so when I was able to start practicing with people in my network, how quickly, information, came in and again, like so accurately. And that too was just really validating because you just never know, when you're first getting started on things, if it's going to work or not work. And it was just like, of course it's going to work, but I mean, you don't know, that's why you try it out. But it
Right.
was, yeah, it was really, lovely and validating when it all did. And people, found a lot of value in what came through for them too. And yeah, the whole thing was just really, really cool.
I love that. It's such a great analogy. That's really good. I might steal that for later
Yeah, you
with the
should,
horse.
because yeah. I was like,
Well, and we
that
did
makes
we
sense.
did practice sessions together within in the container,
Mhm.
but then yes, you were encouraged to work with, I think I recommended one or two clients, and I think I had my A students who were like, let's do 5 or 6.
Yeah,
So we
we
kind
did
of
so
found,
many more.
yeah, we found our limit really quick of how many we would do in a day or a weekend, which I mean, hey, lessons learned. Now we know. Um,
Yes.
but I think you even used some things earlier on when we were going through the auric layers. I think you even had worked
Hmm.
some of that in. Do you remember
That's
that?
right.
Telling me that?
Yes. 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 And I still do that as well. And so I have a kind of energetic setup for like energetic hygiene that I share out with my own clients, just to set
Mhm.
your energy up for the day and get flow going in your field and ground yourself in so you can practice presence and you're also manifesting in the things that you want to embody over the course of the day. And I have started to weave in the way that we took a look at the aura and smoothed it out and made sure that, there weren't any tears or fissures or shadows or anything like that. And we're clearing it out just to really help people to claim their field, and to also get to a point where they can observe their field and intuitively, clairvoyantly, um, know and understand it to a point of, is there anything in my field that is in distortion or interference or even like inconsistent with what I want to be emitting or bringing in and that sort of thing. And so it's definitely provided an additional layer of awareness when it comes to energetic hygiene that I hadn't really personally been aware of in that way before, that has strengthened the overall practice. So that's been really beneficial.
That's amazing. And what a gift you're empowering them to then learn it and do it for themselves.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
we're all about teaching to fish. Yes.
Yes, yes. Yeah, no gatekeeping here. Here are the
Yeah,
gifts. Here's the
no
magic. Yeah,
gatekeeping. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
no.
Love it. So what would you say has changed the most for you since going through Root to Rise, whether personally or in your business? Or
Hmm.
maybe
Hmm.
both.
Yeah, I would say confidence in navigating the records for sure. And probably a deeper integration of leveraging the records in my work more than before. Before, I had kind of viewed it as sort of like different dimensions, I guess. If I'm working with
Hmm.
a person doing somatic body work, we're pretty much, here in the 3D, and at most we go up to the 5D, and we're kind of working from that level. And now we're able to kind of bring in some additional tools, especially if we're doing regression. Um, Not only in this lifetime, but in particular, if we're doing past life lineage, any of those sorts of regressions, we're able to kind of integrate that in, more seamlessly so that depending on what the needs are in the particular session, we can achieve a lot more faster because I'm agile at being able to bring people into those spaces as needed faster. And so that's been, really helpful because it's like a whole nother level of, connection and access that would have in the past, I think, without that confidence, I would have it would have slowed me down and been like, maybe, we need to like do a different type of a session, and now it's more like we can flow wherever, the client needs to go and I can support them more confidently. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love it. So you
Hmm.
mentioned confidence a bit. How about your intuition? Has that changed at all?
Mm, say probably it has gotten stronger because I have had more proof of like how my intuition um is accurate. It's gotten and so in getting stronger, um, now when I'm meeting with clients, especially over the course of this summer, I would say, and I think, the course was part of it. I think a lot of it was also has also been attributed to the collective, and it's just easier, I think, to access things, not only for myself, but my clients to access things easier than before. But like things that I've noticed that have always been sort of I've always kind of tiptoed around a little bit, have been like names coming through, specific numbers coming through, specific amount of time coming through, like things like that have been coming through much more loudly. And, I'm always, encouraging and supporting my clients to tap into their own intuition first. And so I'll always ask them, and they'll say whatever's coming through. And it's the exact same as what's coming through for me, in which, I'm just like, yes, and then we move on to the next thing, or I'll get some clear guidance about something that's coming through, and they'll be kind of like meandering a bit to get to, what's coming through for them. And then when they finally land it, I'm just like, yep, and then we move on, so
Hmm.
that's been really helpful. Um, because sometimes it's not so comfortable, like kind of facing your own intuition, if it's something you don't really want to hear or admit, or
Been there.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's okay, but I'm able to validate them quickly as well. And and that's the sort of thing that like you just can't make it up. Like you can't fake it. It's like so nuanced that it's just like, yes, this is all real. And like what you're receiving, I am also receiving. And, that too is just this level of, connection and intuitive access that I feel is definitely coming online stronger for not only me, but clients as well. And that's been really cool to see. Hmm.
I love that. I love that. So
Hmm.
have your friends, family, or clients noticed a difference or a shift in the work or the type of sessions you've offered since the program?
I would say again, kind of back to the confidence piece. I just, sometimes I'll sit back and listen to what's coming out of my mouth and I'll be like, wow, is this really what I do for a living? Like, is this really how I'm making like basically the same salary I was making in corporate America 3 years ago? Like it's sort of like shocking to me still. And then yet it isn't because, I know how things work. And so, but it is because sometimes I'll talk with family members that maybe I haven't talked to in a while, and they'll ask like, "How are things going?" And I'll just, dive into stuff, and they'll kind of be like blinking, like, "What?" Like, yeah. But for those that are in it and speak this language every day, and this is really our reality, when I was on the pilgrimage, I was with 22 people and everybody was speaking the same language. Like everybody it was like breathing, And so when you
Cool.
get tuned in with groups like that, it's just like, oh, okay. And so maybe like, in some cases, those family members or friends that I haven't had an opportunity to connect with in a little bit longer time because it's been fast. Like the evolution has been fast. When I think about where I was 2 years ago, a year ago, 6 months ago, compared to where things are now, I'm sure if there are people that haven't talked to me in a couple of years and we sit down, they'd probably be like, wow, you're glowing, you're radiating. Like you know what I mean? Like a totally different person because of who I'm embodying, like the version of myself that I'm embodying now compared to where I was, even those couple of years ago.
Yeah, so several quantum leaps ago.
Yes, we've kind of lost count. And
Yes.
sidebar, when I was in Scotland, manifestations, instant manifestations, I lost count every day, how many things were coming in because I was surrounded by so many expanders. So, I mean, there's definitely power in that as well. Hmm.
Yes. Which I love the community aspect. And I think there's so much. when we get together and we had, I call them weekly activations, because even if we're having conversations, we're all hearing things differently and asking different questions, and it's
Mhm.
activating different things and helping us up level. I always say like a rise, rising tide lifts all boats. It doesn't matter where we are on our journey, what gifts we've come to the table with, we all have something magical and unique to offer. So
Mhm. Mhm.
100% love that. Um, so was there a particular moment in the program that still gives you goosebumps?
Mm. Mhm. I think it was that first journey that we did where we were introduced to the first set of the trees, the level one trees. And I'm trying to remember, I think, I think during that experience, I have the ability to kind of be in it and write notes as I go. Like I can kind of like come out and write things down and then go back in. Like I'm versed enough and experienced enough to be able to do that comfortably, and I don't lose the connection or the depth of the information or anything. And so being able to do that and then come back and again with very little and like in like previous knowledge or expectation and share it out and have it be so accurate, like it was just so gratifying and like yeah yeah, it was just I love I love when my intuition delivers like that. It's very like it's just I love it. And so so that was really a fantastic experience. And I also very much enjoyed the like Akashic Records readings that we did together in community in the group. Like that was really fun as well because in some of those, you know, the way that I might have interpreted information and been sharing information from my vantage point, the person receiving might not have received it in the same way that I saw it, but it was still relevant. Like it
Hmm.
still resonated. And so that too helped me to I think let go a little bit of like ego or agenda of like what comes through as a reader or someone a channel or however we want to define, you know, this work. Presenting it in such a way that is open to being received and interpretation, because then the other person can add their perspective, which is so much deeper and richer than me just saying, you know, this is what's coming through and this is what is. You know, it's sort of, it's
Hmm.
almost like co-creative, but in like the best, most authentic way and like healing way, you know, possible, because then the person can receive and internalize and interpret in a way that resonates with them, which is really the point. Because, you know, when you're holding space and doing this work, it's helping people to come back to themselves and remember themselves. And, you know, we're just, you know, the conduit of like kind of helping them to get there and holding the space for
Yeah.
them to get there. So that was really great, those experiences. Mhm.
I love that. One of the number one things I always hear folks say is, I don't want to get it wrong, or I don't want to do it wrong. Or we
Yeah.
have this sense of like perfectionism. And because we
Mhm.
come from such a heart-centered, caring place, and we know what kind of space we're holding for others, and we want to deliver, right? We have very high standards for ourselves. And this kind of takes the pressure off because it's not us, it's something coming through us
Right.
for them.
Exactly.
So
Yep.
love that.
Hmm.
So if Root to Rise had a feeling or a season or a landscape, what would that be to you?
Ooh. Mm. Mm. For me, the Celtic Reiki portion, the upfront portion, where we're learning about the trees and the tree essences and all of that work, I would say that would feel like spring, spring into summer, or maybe even like winter into spring, where it's sort of like nurturing elements of yourself that might not yet be fully visible or realized by outside eyes or something to that effect. And then I would view the Akashic Records work being more like August, September, and maybe even into October. Like that type of time of the year where it's sort of like um because I personally view Akashic Records as more kind of like mature, intuitive work. Versus, you know, I came up through energy work. And so I feel like energy work is more foundling and a really lovely way to develop your intuition if you haven't done that yet. Energy work I felt was really gentle and helpful in helping me to do that, and like flexible and forgiving, and I don't know, just soft. And so yeah, and so I felt prepared to do the Akashic records. I view it more kind of like later, after that first part had been established, because I know we've talked about this, and I know, this is the spirit and inspiration for the program was, you learn to ground first. You learn to kind of hold your foundation and be stable first before you venture off into, these other places that aren't of earth. And but having a solid grounding is really important, because you don't want to, whatever, you don't want to like get lost up there. So it's really great to sort of like training wheels, and then we get on our bike and go. So
Yes.
yes, that's kind of how I would interpret it. How about you? Like, is that like, how would you explain that or define
Yeah, I
that?
mean, I love my tree analogy. So like the seed to the sprout to, the
Hmm.
tree trunk and then the branches is kind of
Hmm.
how
Hmm.
I view the program, and kind of adding on to it. And they
Hmm.
work so beautifully together, which we talked
Hmm.
about and kind of worked with. And I'm excited to go deeper on in this fall
Hmm.
cohort as well. So
Hmm.
yes. And then
Hmm.
the second bookend of the uh, second degree Celtic Reiki tree.
Hmm.
So there's a whole other grouping. So lots of information, but we spread it out, and based on feedback, it's a bit longer. We've got some integration, we've got some more practice sessions. So overall, I think you already touched on the pace of the overall program, but if someone was asking like time commitment, how much time would it take each week for them? What would you, I know you were like my A student. You were like, I listened to everything. You came with your questions, you were prepared, you were ready to go. And there are all
Hmm.
different types of learners. Like some would do it the day
Hmm.
before, or some would do it afterwards and show up for the activations. Like there's no wrong way to absorb and learn the information, right? The resources are there for you for a lifetime, as long as the software's there to hold it, right?
Hmm. 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 Yeah. So, yeah, I found a really pleasant flow for me, was listening to the recordings. So we would have session on Wednesdays. I'm not sure if the next round is still on Wednesdays or whenever we do. And then I would listen through the coursework for that week. On that Sunday, I would take a beautiful long walk in nature, and I would listen through for kind of like the first like level of information and integration, and kind of while in movement. That worked really well for me. I have attention deficit, so that worked really well for me. For anyone else who's like
Yeah.
neurospicy, yes,
Yes.
I gave my
Yes.
body something to do so that it wasn't arguing or like, whatever in resistance. It had its
Squirrel.
job
No.
to do. Yes, exactly. And so I could kind of receive the information, and that worked beautifully. And then the only other piece I would say is, by doing it on Sunday, by the time we got to Wednesday, I remembered a couple of times I had not felt as prepared for the conversation on Wednesday, because like bits of the information had kind of fallen off or hadn't been as like top of mind. And so I think as we head into the next round, what I would plan to do is something similar, where I would listen. And so in terms of timing, I would say that walk was usually like 45 minutes to an hour, to get through the modules for that lesson. And then what I would do is I would go back and re-listen. I'd like kind of scan the curriculum, probably like I'd go to the gym, a couple times a week. I'd probably go like Monday or Tuesday and do a walk again, and kind of scan through and re-listen to anything that doesn't feel like, what did we cover in that one? Or what was that again? Just to kind of get another um, layer of the information. I think that would be plenty to prepare then to have like a really kind of interactive conversation as we come back together, on that Wednesday, the following week. And so, the fact that we met weekly, I thought was good. It kept me like active and consciously aware of the work throughout. I think if there had been gaps, it would have been easier for me to procrastinate, attention deficit, and so then I don't think it would have maybe integrated, as deep as it did, having the cadence as it was set up. So yeah, so it's all what you make it. And I would say, like, yeah, there were definitely people in the class where they would review it right before class, and sometimes that worked, and sometimes they found later, I would say, in the classwork, that they had wished they'd had more time. So, if people are going to invest in doing the program, and again, I take my investments in education really seriously, um, I would probably say if you have that amount of time a week to be able to devote and commit to the program, you're gonna crush it. Um, my 2 cents. Yep.
So
Mhm.
like 2 to 3 hours, including the call, would you say?
Yes, I would
Yeah,
say two, including the call. Yep, yep,
yeah.
yep. Which I
And
felt
then,
was, yeah. Go ahead.
oh no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I felt that that was, reasonable for the level of information that was provided. Like that, yes, it was serious work, but it was very worthwhile work, and I felt like I really gained a lot going through it. Like it felt like a good use of my time.
Awesome. I love
Hmm.
that. No, I love the live calls. That they're my favorite. The Q&A, and then try
Hmm.
come up with different activations and activities for us all to do, or guided meditations, and that it was very fun. And then we had the community, so you could drop questions throughout and had access to me,
Hmm.
and then we went through it together. So like it unlocked. So it's not like you were behind. You always can go back to the videos. And have you accessed the resources since completing the program? Spot checked anything
Yes.
or? Oh,
Yes,
awesome.
yes. Yeah, I have a couple of times gone back, and especially the guided activations to access the records and to close the records and that sort of thing. I've referenced that quite a few times. And then I also went back and referenced, some of the beginner tools around like working with the aura and the layers and that sort of thing too. So, yes, I've definitely gone back. And I also went back and reviewed the booklet. All right. I had printed out some of the sections of
Oh
the
yeah.
PDFs and things for reference.
Hmm.
So that was really good as I was preparing for my trip over. I wanted to re-familiarize myself with the different trees and kind of more of the details and like and that sort of thing. And so I did reference the print materials too. Hmm.
Awesome. I love that. Yeah, I'm a big note taker, so I like to print, highlight, and take notes, and
Hmm.
it's just old school analog.
Yeah.
Um, so for fun, would you finish this sentence? Root to
Hmm.
rise helped me remember, and then you can fill in the blank.
Oh man. It helped me to I would say remember my deeper connection to Mother Gaia and the trees for sure. Like that we have plant allies and there is plant magic and medicine out in the world that is around us all the time. And so being able to tap into that consciously and work with it from a place of, reverent, conscious reverence was amazing. And then also helped me to build my confidence in navigating the records in such a way that, um, yeah, I've been able to help clients on a deeper level that, I never really expected to become part of my practice, but it seems more and more often, um, necessary. Like it seems helpful and relevant more and more often. And I don't know if you've experienced this, but I've had so many clients have past loved ones starting to come in and wanting to like consciously be part of the entourage. It's just like, whoa. So that too has been really cool because as we're
Mm,
navigating records, we're going way back, like multi generations back and finding out where things, came into the contract plan and, all of those things and healing, it's not just 2 or 3 or 4 generations of, trauma or karmic patterns or whatever. I mean it's like way far back, so that's been really gratifying to be able to work with human beings on this like level of scale, so
mhm.
far up so far down, and integrating the energies of those levels into the human experience has just been really amazing, impressive. I'm impressed that we are doing this is really
I
cool.
love it. I
Yeah.
love it. So what's the next dream you're stepping into for you and your business and practice?
Yes. So I'm continuing to consciously expand my capacity as an energetic expander as part of the work that I do when I bring, whether it's with, people or groups. And so being able to hold an expanded state of presence and possibility as I'm working with people. And so Root to Rise is helping me to expand, in this dimension of sort of up into the higher realms and down into earth energies and connecting with Mother Earth and those energies more deeply and more just the expanded capacity of that. Simultaneously, something that came through for me when I was in Scotland, which is one of the reasons why I went there, was to receive kind of next level guidance in my own business and my own practice. And it was more on this dimension, meaning, so right and left. This is my left. And so feminine, masculine. balancing healed energies for both to help me expand. That I was much more heavy on the feminine side. I was reluctant to receive and work with healed masculine energy because what does it even mean in our society? But anyway, we're getting clarity. But then also, receiving, giving, past, future, like expanding in this way as well. And so I'm excited because this has been the focus for the last, I would say, 6 months. And so I'm ready for this next level of expansion here again to just keep expanding, leveling up.
That's so much. That's
Hmm.
amazing. So if someone is watching this interview and they're on the fence about, should I join? I don't know if this is for me. What would you
Mhm.
want them to know since you've gone through the program and you've been on that side of things?
Yeah, I would say trust your intuition and not your fear. And so And if you're having trouble distinguishing the two, I would encourage them to reach out to you and like ask some
Mhm.
questions and have a conversation because I'm sure you're available for that. And
Yes,
yeah, because your body, your nervous system and your subconscious is literally in service to keep you stuck where you are, to keep you exactly where you are with what's
safe.
familiar.
Yeah,
Yes, safe from the perspective of those limited programs, versus your intuition is here to help you live your purpose and live the whole point of why you came here in the first place, which, explore the contrast. And it might not always be bliss. There might be pain, but that's part of the point of expansion and growing and learning and all the things. And so, fear can be there, but it shouldn't be running the show. It shouldn't be driving the ship. And so if there's like fear, resistance, kind of like, "Oh, I don't have enough time. Oh, it's too expensive. I don't know what the pricing is ultimately going to be or whatever." But those are just excuses to keep you limited and small. And so, having a heart to heart with yourself. And if your intuition is like, wow, this seems really cool. Wow, that really resonates with me. I really want to know more about that. Consider leaning into it because once you get into it, I never regretted once. Not it. I mean, I was just like instant pay. Like that was as deep as it went for me because it was so worth it to me. And I have never thought about it since. And I've only experienced greater expansion and accessing greater abilities. And so I'm very comfortable with investing in myself when my intuition is called to do so because it's only ever brought me more abundance, more happiness, more freedom. So, yeah, I would just encourage people to lean into their intuition and not let fear drive the ship.
I love that answer. And I think that applies to everything, not just this
Mhm,
program.
mhm,
Why are you
mhm,
making a
mhm.
decision from fear and scarcity or from an empowered sense of knowing, and this is for me? Are you creating your reality? And the answer is yes to both. It's just where
Yeah,
you initiating the answer and the decision from. So thank
yeah.
you.
Mhm.
Who do you think is the best fit, or who would you recommend Root to Rise to?
That's one of the things that I really loved about the program is I would say people at pretty much any level. I mean, it's good if you have already, some understanding of an energy practice or, intuitive practice kind of in your wheelhouse. But I didn't think the curriculum was designed in such a way that people would be lost. I think people could plug in at any level and receive exactly what they are meant to receive at that level. And, for those of us that have been practicing for a while, I mean, I'm doing it again. I did it with you last year, and I'm excited to be doing it again because I understand the importance of integration and allowing information to come to us at a certain, vantage point of where we are. And then you learn and grow and expand, and then you get to experience it again from a new vantage point. And so you receive more deeply and you expand even further. So yeah, I would say it'd be good if you have at least something in current play where you are tuning into your intuition. You have some sort of a practice, whether that's morning pages, journaling, channel writing, or you could be using tarot or anything to like help you, any of those other tools, pendulums, whatever, to be able to connect with your intuition to receive guidance. If you have like that established, I would say definitely consider it because you'll definitely get a lot out of it.
I love that. So you don't necessarily need to be an energy healer or have your own practice. You could be along your spiritual awakening journey and just be really drawn to this. You can get a lot out of it for self-healing and self-practice. And maybe you have a dream and you want to start your own practice.
Yep, exactly, exactly. Because that was my intention coming into it was really for me to understand more for my own like internal confidence, and I just found like really quickly like applications that I could use in my business that then helped my clients. So that wasn't an expectation, but it was really nice bonus coming out of it.
Love that. Awesome. So if you could sum up Root to Rise in one sentence, what would that be?
Oh man.
I'll give you the hard ones.
Yeah, I would say, it is a extremely excellent program and course to expand your confidence and your abilities when it comes to connecting with earth energies and connecting with higher realms. That would probably be, yeah. hmm
Awesome. Thank
hmm
you. Is there anything coming in for you personally that you want to share with anyone that is watching?
Well, I'd probably also add that I haven't seen anything like this anywhere else. Like, I haven't seen this type of combination of tools put together in such a way that is so fantastically Virgo academically organized.
And I'm a
And
Pisces, so that's a big compliment.
oh, I thought you were a Virgo. I thought you
Yeah,
had Virgo in your chart somewhere or something. Are you
no,
serious? Where have I been?
yeah.
Okay, well, in a
It's okay.
different timeline,
Yeah, maybe
you're
a
a
past
Virgo.
life I was a
For
Virgo.
sure.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
anyway,
I love it.
either way, it is very like organized in Virgo energy fashion. And also just as deeply connected to, intuition and expansion. And so, yeah, it's just such a thorough example. And I haven't really come across anything else like it. I haven't come across it in a book that I could pick up or a podcast that I've listened to or a YouTube series that I've come across. Like, it's very powerful and unique. hmm
Thank you. I would say it
hmm
was gifted to me because I was working with the two modalities and they kept blending naturally for me in my own self-healing
hmm
practice. And
hmm
then I started offering a few sessions to friends and they were like, you have to put this out there. I was like, oh, I guess I should teach it. And they're like,
hmm
yes. So that's how Root to Rise was born. So
Yeah, it's a beautiful
excellent.
thing. hmm
Well, thank you so much. This has been an awesome conversation. I'm super excited for our fall cohort to start in September. So if you want to join, I'll have a link below. And yes, as Bridget said, if you have questions and you want to connect with me, we can hop on a Zoom. I'm not a salesperson. If I look at it as an energetic match and answer questions so you can make the best decision for you and your intuition. So, any last words?
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm very excited to go through this again.
Yay. Well, thank
hmm
you. And we will see you guys hopefully on the inside.
Yes. Bye bye.